Hello, people of the internet. Welcome back to another episode of the Chill Podcast. I'm your host, Javier, and I have my great friend here, Rafael. We're going to be talking about the history and the origin of the English language and where it came from. And Rafael, how are you doing?
Hey, Javi. Well, thanks for having me on the podcast again.
Of course.
I'm doing well, thank you. Just been working my new job, and it's been a little hectic, but I'm glad we're doing this right now.
Yeah,
And
me too.
yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, it was very fun last time too. We had lots of lots of great moments in the last episode. So I think this one's going to be very interesting, very funny as well. We're going to be just talking about the history of language, all of our you know funny funny topics that we'll get into for sure.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get into it. I mean, we're not experts by any means, right, Javi?
Yeah,
But it's not like we dedicated our life to studying language, which is interesting, but not too interesting to the point where I would want to like make a career out of it?
right. Yeah. Um, yeah. I'm not. It's not my best suit, but I'm always interested of where like a lot of the words that we speak every single day,
Mm.
where it oriented or where it came from, basically.
Mhm.
Like who created all these words that we're talking come to we use every single day? Like who created, you know, every like them, they, like those words, like why did that come into existence? Who created that word to mean that specific thing?
Right. Yeah, I mean it's true. I don't know if you ever have moments where you say something, like it could be a random word, like I don't know, like cake or like moist, and you're like, where did that come from? Or sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I've had brain farts where I mention a word and then it sounds so awkward to me, like if I can't say it because it's so weird, and I trip myself out. And and growing up with learning two languages, just Spanish and English, right? I'm
Yeah,
privileged to say that I can do that. I think is pretty unique for me in the sense of that English has way more words, it seems like, but in the Spanish language, it seems like it takes longer to get my point across for some reason. I haven't thought too deep about it, but with English, there's many words to describe things, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, let's get into it, man.
yeah. And before we do, I always, when you, like you said, like words that you might not understand or where it came from, I always end up seeing it like five different times, like moist, moist, or just any word. I say it like five different times to understand like why is this word it is.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like if I say, for example, just apple, 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 I don't know why, but I don't realize where it came from or why this word defines this object. You know,
Uh,
I always like trip on words sometimes as well, but I always wonder like I have to repeat the word just to process it correctly or to understand, you know?
sure. I mean, yeah, I think that's with everybody, right? No one's perfect, so we all have to, at some point, we all hear a word that we're not familiar with, and we have to repeat it to ourselves many times for it to come naturally to us. But um, yeah, I mean, so I did try to do a little bit of research on this,
Mhm.
and so what is the English language, right? According to a website that I found, I think it's pronounced Britannica, Britannica, Britannica.com. Um, so what is the English language? The English language is an Indo-European language in the West Germanic language group. Modern English is widely considered to be the lingua franca of the world. That's interesting. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. What I do know is that English is the business language of the world, right? I've heard that
Right.
many times. And is a standard language in a wide variety of fields, including computer coding, international business, and higher education. So so it's coming from Indo-European language. Isn't that funny? Like that word, like that doesn't make sense to me
Hmm.
because it's kind of like saying two different. Like I could already see two different cultures there, like Indo and then European. I think there's a little bit more to that. Because what is Indo-European? What do you think, Javi?
Indo
Like
I
off the top of your head?
Indo-European, I have no idea. I mean, it's I know.
Well, like the
I,
words Indo and Indo, what does that sound to you?
you know what? See, like this is what I'm saying. Like when a word like this I don't understand, I have to like play it in my head many times, and I don't know where Indo like comes from.
Well, Indo, Indo, and then there's a dash or a hyphen, whatever you call it, right? Where there's that little dash line in between, and then European.
Hmm.
So actually, you know, I did watch a video of a historian explaining that it's just it comes from many areas because the English language. Some people say that the British, for example, have stolen words from Indian language as well as mixing it with other European countries, right? Like French and Italian. And so I think that's what it may mean by Indo-European. Like it's just mixed, like
Because
European and the words.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because like what I've read before is like many words in this like English language have roots in Old English, which is spoken in England as well. So it came from, I think what I studied was like the fifth, or like in that era of like Old English, and England was like the main place where it came from.
Right, Old English, correct. But then
Yeah,
as soon as like if we're talking about modern English today, that's where it expanded from other languages across the world.
yeah,
So yeah, in Old English, that's funny, huh? I can't read Old English. I mean I can, but it doesn't mean I understand what those words are saying because they used to say things differently back then and there's a lot of old plays, old English plays that give an example of that. It's actually complicated.
and didn't like many of the words in the English language have like roots in Latin as well, which was like you said before, I think Rome, like the Rome Empire area,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Tell
yeah,
tell me more.
um, that's another thing that came to mind, which like it came from Greek as well, like you said. Many words also came like from the roots in Greek as well, which was spoken in the accent in Greece as well.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, if we were to dive deeper, I think the language, Latin language would be like the root of a lot of languages, right? And
Yeah.
so what I want to say is that I don't know if English was actually first, you know what I mean? Even Old English. So I'm not too sure about that. I don't know if you know anything.
I think English was also like borrowed, I think, over time from different countries as well, not just Greek or Greece. Like it was included in French, German, and like Arab and Spanish as well.
Oh, interesting, interesting. Okay. So, according to Britannica.com, as of 2020, there are 1.27 billion English speakers around the world. Wow. This makes it the most spoken language ahead of Mandarin Chinese, 1.12 billion speakers, and Hindi 637 million speakers.
Oh my
More than
goodness.
50 countries officially list English as an official language.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
that's it. Yeah, I mean that's pretty
it,
insane to think about, but
I'm
I
not
don't know if
surprised
it's a
because it's
good thing.
spoken all over too.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's a good thing, and we're not trying to judge things too much, but like to say that 50 countries officially list English as an official language, I mean that to me is kind of saying that they have to learn English too, like the country, like they take pride in that.
Right.
But I don't know if that's just a thing about being from America, North America, and South America. Um, so here's another subsection in this website page,
Right.
right? Is African American vernacular English a dialect of English? So there has been much public and academic debate on whether African American vernacular English is a dialect of English or its own separate language with African origins.
Hmm.
In 1996, the Oakland Unified School District gained nationwide attention for officially recognizing African American vernacular English as a second language. So that kind of reminds me of like I don't know what you think for us, Javi. Like for me, I grew up in a family where I have Mexican blood in me, as well as me being born in the U.S. American blood.
Right.
It's a mix, right? And I would consider myself Mexican American. But my point is I remember taking classes in high school and in middle school too that were called English second language class, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, we had to take English. I don't know if you had to do that, but I did.
I
And
did.
many, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I did. I took that
yeah,
in high school.
yeah. And you know what? It's funny because I've noticed around people around me, we would speak in a certain way, and also we would use similar words and maybe vernacular as well. So
Hmm.
maybe that can count as that too, like ESL, being English second language learners, but primarily because of we know Spanish here in New Mexico, and having families from Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah. That came in hand to knowing those two definitely here.
Well, yeah, I mean it wouldn't make sense for me sometimes because I'm like, well, in English I have an A plus, but in ESL I also have an A plus, so why do I have to go to ESL
Right.
when I'm doing well in regular English class, which didn't make sense to me. It was annoying.
Yeah. I don't. I Well, I guess why we took it too is just to also pronounce the words better and also better grammar, I guess. Because you know, it, when I my past jobs, I have to speak to so many different customers, and I speak English pretty well, I think, in my opinion. But I had this customer one time tell me and correct me there in person, saying, you're saying I know what you're saying, but you're not saying it correctly um, in the proper way." And I forget what I was talking to her about, but she like interrupted me. She was like, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm trying to correct you on how you should say what you're saying to me right."
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that must have been something annoying, huh, for you, or maybe not. I don't know how that experience was for you, like being corrected like that.
It was weird because yeah, I never get corrected ever. Maybe through text for sure, but I've never in person. That was kind of like very weird and not awkward, but I was like stunned. Like, oh, okay, you're correcting the language, or well, you're not correcting the English, you're correcting the pronunciation and the perfect grammar.
Yeah. You reminded me of when my grade school teacher almost flunked me and I was what? I was in fourth grade, so I was like, how old was I? Fourth grade. I was like 10 years old around there, right? And I almost got flunked because I don't know. My mom never really told me why. She's just like, "Oh, your teacher almost flunked you," but then I learned she said that it was because of my English and how I think it was because of my reading level and
Hmm.
comprehension, right? Like how to, and to be fair, I don't know, I'm not going to self-diagnose myself, but I I would get bored reading, like unless if it's a good story in my head, I think I can finish a book or the story, but I had trouble paying attention. But I would try my best, but I remember reading over and over and over. And so maybe that's what the teacher saw, but
Oh,
also the way I think I pronunciated, right?
right.
My words. And I don't even know if I said that word right. That's hilarious. But the
Pronunciate.
thing is, but yeah, but the thing is that motivated me since I almost got failed just for that in fourth grade. And I actually ended up being a try hard, and I ended up all getting a master's, as you know, hobby, as you know me in my personal life.
Yeah,
Attaining a master's was no easy feat, and I had to be on top of my English game and writing game, right?
yeah,
Not only speaking and presenting myself, but also writing it. Because yeah, because that's how it is. That's how it is. And the powers of the judges that we have in schools who determine like when we're speaking professionally or not. Um so yeah, that's my story, but it's it motivated me and I actually surpassed many of my whole class pretty much. I think I'm maybe one or two or three other people have attained a higher education
dang.
out of our class in high school. So, but it's not a competition. It's more so like I want to challenge myself,
Yeah,
and
because
now I would consider myself like a grammar cop, but I don't do it to people. I just do it to myself because I don't like. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, well, let's get it. Let's get it a little bit more into this, because now we're getting to the part where it actually starts, like the origins
Mhm.
of English. So, having emerged from the dialects and vocabulary of Germanic peoples, Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, who settled in Britain in the 5th century Common Era, English today is a constantly changing language that has been influenced by a plethora of different cultures and languages, such as Latin, French, Dutch, and Afrikaans.
Hmm.
Um, English
Afrikaans.
is not the official language of the United States of America. I did not know that. The country does not have an official language on the federal level. Many states, however, have passed legislation that designates English as their official language. Isn't that funny?
Wow. Wait,
But
so
50
English
other countries.
wasn't from here? So you're saying?
What? No, what I'm saying, no, no, no. So that was a separate section. What I just read
Oh,
right now is that English isn't the official language in America. Like, they
uh,
didn't make it that on a federal level.
oh, I see. Okay.
So that's crazy because 50 other countries have labeled it as their official language, one of them, but yet the US, for us here in North America, haven't done that. Isn't that wild?
That's weird. Yeah. So everyone
Well,
speaks here.
well, yeah. Yeah, but it kind of makes sense, don't you think? Because we're like in a melting pot of
Yeah, we are.
different languages.
Yeah, there's so many different languages being spoken here. You get Spanish, English, French, Irish, German. I've heard so many people here talking like it's incredible how. And the funny thing is like I can understand some of it, not all of it. Like when obviously I think Irish when I was at work, he was speaking I don't know what Irish is. I know it's some of the different language, but I understood a little bit of English in it. I understood what he was trying to get across,
Hmm.
and also French as well. French I could understand because it's a little bit of Spanish in there, and I could know what they're talking about. I just can't put the word together.
Really?
Yeah, I could definitely understand French in their language. I just need to put all of the Spanish words together in my head.
That's pretty cool, man. I wish I could do that. I mean, with some of the languages that you're talking about, because I can't always, and I kind of give up when I don't understand.
And I'm trying to teach myself how to speak French right now because I feel French for me is going to be easy because it is Spanish, like I said, and it's going to help me learn a new language and just put a different level. If I could, because we where I work right now, we have so many people coming from France, and I would love to speak French.
Mm. Well, what captivates you to want to speak French?
Um, I think I just want to add another language to my vocabulary, and not just Spanish and English. I try to add something else. Every other language might be harder for me, but French I feel like it's the one that I could actually jump on real quick and start the conversation.
Hmm.
And I know some words here and there, but I I barely if you told me to say something now in French, I won't be able to do it because I just can't. I know it's there, but I just can't speak it.
Uh-huh.
So,
Ooh, well, so I found this other little neat article about if we know, okay, it mentions the origins of English, but it also mentions 16 English words with cool life stories.
hmm,
But you know, this article was last updated on January 30, 2022.
okay.
And you know, it this person here in this article does bring up a point. English is always growing,
Hmm,
and according so in that article, so I guess in 2021, December 2021, the Oxford English Dictionary added 500 new words and phrases to the dictionary. Not 500 words for the year, but rather 500 officially recognized words and phrases in just 3 months.
dang.
So that's weird how it's always a growing and changing language.
Hmm.
Um, like for example, it gives one here like whether the word is fleek, like eyebrows on fleek,
Fake.
but what that means is it means nice from 2003,
Hmm,
or fleet, meaning a
hmm,
group of military ships from the year 1200. So yeah, let's look. So here, let's three words as examples: transport, transgress, and transaction. What's similar about them? They all have the word trans in them,
hmm,
which comes from the Latin word meaning across. Now, even if you don't know the full meaning of the words, you can figure out that they deal with something going across. So that's
hmm,
pretty cool, right? Like transport, transgress, transaction. And they all start with the word trans, so it means like going across. Now, look at the original meanings of the other parts of the words: port, to carry. So it
right.
makes sense that to transport something means that you carry something across the space. For example, a bus might transport people from one city to another. A plane might transport people from one country to another. Gress means to go. So in the word transgress, gress to go. To transgress means that you cross a boundary, rule, or law.
Hmm,
And action. So as in transaction,
yeah.
action means to do. So a transaction usually involves an exchange or trade of some kind, right? So that's pretty interesting.
It is.
Let's see. So yeah. So I don't know what you have to add so far, Hobby.
I can't add too much of it, but that's pretty interesting on how those words are. Um, Obviously, they all mean the same thing or almost mean the same thing, which we understand what port and fleek and fleet, fleek, what was it? Um,
Uh, it was transport, transgress, and transaction.
Transaction, yeah, and like it's I don't know, it's pretty interesting how we add, like you said, more words to English to mean what we're saying and what the meaning is for. Because we could use like on fleek, like for like you said, nice, or it can mean this and this and this. Like we're adding so many different words to mean many different things.
Right. Right. Yeah. And here's a little fun one. For example, like, because I never thought of it too much. Like the origin of phone, the
Mm,
word phone, and I think it says here that it is Greek. So meaning a phone is a device that's used to communicate with people, as we know, from a distance. So, but where's the origin? The English word phone is actually short for telephone, which comes from the Greek words for sound fawn and far away,
mm,
tele, or right?
yeah.
And related words, homophones, are words that sound fawn and the same homo but are spelled differently, like here and there. If you like hearing nice things, you might enjoy a symphony, which is when many instruments play together, right? So
Right.
that's interesting. Okay, what about for the word hyper? That's always thrown around. Hype. So
Yeah.
meaning hyper, meaning someone who is hyper is very energetic and lively. The
Mm,
origin of hyper is actually a shortening of the word hyperactive, which combines the Greek word meaning over and beyond.
mm,
Hyper. And the Latin word for something that's done is act, right? So that's pretty interesting. Here are some words that are in Latin, okay?
okay.
Like, for example, dense. That's a root word for the Latin language, right? Something dense is packed tightly or very thick. For example, a fog can be so dense or thick that you can't see much through it. Origin. Dense comes from the Latin for thick, which is denses.
Mm,
It's interesting. Let's see another one with Latin finish, meaning to finish something means to be done with it. Okay, origin. Finish comes from the Latin word finis, if that's how I'm pronouncing it right,
yeah.
finis, which means end. In many words, this is shortened to fiend.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's why in
You
the
see
movies
it.
they always put
Yeah.
fiend.
Yeah. Just to tell you that it's done. Finny.
And then there's Old Norse language. And by
Mm,
the way, I don't know if you ever heard of old like Norse myths. And I
don't
think
have.
one of them is from one of your favorite movies.
Which ones?
I don't know if it's your favorite, but from Marvel, Norse mythology.
Oh, you're talking about
Guess which
Thor.
one? Guess which here? Huh?
Thor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You got
That's pretty
Thor
cool.
and Loki, and you got all those other
Well, no,
mythology.
no, no. They're not all Norse.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so but there's one word there that's we say often, aloft. I mean, I don't use that word that often,
Oh,
but
wow.
meaning a loft is a room right under the roof or very high up in the building. The loft in a house is usually used for storage, but building lofts are rented out as usually smaller living spaces.
Hmm,
Origin. The Old Norse word for air or sky was lopt, like Lopt, which is written as loft in English. That's pretty cool.
hmm,
Okay, and then there's more. Here's French. Peace. Peace is a calm state of being. Origin. The Latin pax and Old French pais both mean peace, and English words use both as prefixes and suffixes. Look for words with pack or peas in them, just not the kind of peas you eat. That's a whole other word.
right.
Um, Then there's liberty in again in the French language. Um, Liberty. Liberty is a state of being free. What's the origin? Another originally Latin word. Liberty found its way into English through the Old French liberté, libere. I don't know how I'm pronouncing it. Usually shortened to lib, like
Mm,
lib, right? Shortened to lib or lib. Italian, gusto. Doing something with gusto means really enjoying it, right?
with joy, yeah.
Or like how we use it, mucho gusto, like right. Um, the Italian word gusto actually means taste and comes from the Latin for taste, gustus or gustus. I'm not sure how I'm pronouncing that.
Gustus.
And then there's last one, Arabic,
Hmm.
check. To check means to take a close look at something or to make sure of something, verify it. For example, before you leave for work in the morning, you might check that you have everything you need. Check can also be used as a verb that means to stop or slow something down. What's the origin? The origin is the word check has an interesting history, moving from language to language and changing its meaning a little with each one. The word originally from Persian and then Arabic, where it meant king. So check, that's interesting. It originates from Persian and then Arabic, where it meant king. Over time, the word started being used in the game of chess and was defined as to control.
Hmm.
Ah, that makes sense. Eventually, the word's meaning changed to what it is today. Okay. Uh, so yeah. So that's just a few examples. It's insane, like how we use these words every day, not knowing where they come from. You
Yeah.
know.
There's so many different, like, I mean, words that I didn't even know, like, didn't know what it meant or what existed, like fiend and, and this, like, this and that is meant for this. And like mucho gusto, isn't that like, it's not like how are you, uh, no, I don't think that's from, but like how are you doing? Like, it's good to meet you, I think.
That's not no.
No, no, oh, okay,
I
yeah,
mean, not in our Mexican language. Like that's not how we. Well, yeah. I mean, if you put it in a sentence, yeah, that'll work. But you can't just leave it alone and just say mucho gusto, like
yeah,
because then people can't figure out what you're trying
same,
to
yeah.
mean.
Hmm.
But yeah. Anyways, I mean, have there been any times where you struggled with using English?
Um, no, I don't think so. I don't think I've ever had that except for that one time with that customer that she had to correct my grammar, but mostly no, no, I don't think I have.
So the fact that you were corrected by a customer, I mean, that just sounds really snobby, to be honest.
Well, she told me she was an English teacher, so I believe her for that.
Doesn't matter. I mean, you know, I have a master's degree, but it doesn't mean I'm going to start correcting people, you
Right.
know,
I mean, it
because
didn't bother me. Like, it just, like, she saw it, she heard it, and so she just corrected
yeah,
me.
but it can be subjective too, you know,
Right.
because a lot of people use their feelings as to what they think sounds correct.
Exactly.
And in reality, they're just using their feelings because they think it sounds better.
Hmm.
When in all reality, I mean, I'm not just using your scenario here, but um, for example, and it could be really dumb things like things that really don't matter. I'm like, you get my point. But like I remember our English teacher, shout out to Mr. Alfredo. Right. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
think he'll listen to this, but anyways, I remember when I wrote something and it was along the lines of saying like from, something about in the context of like me talking about what it's like to be on Earth, but instead I said something along the lines like from this world. And then he put in question mark, when he was reading the paper and saying like, "What do you mean by world? Like it's Earth? Like use a word Earth?" And I'm like, "Well, it's my world. It's my world in my little head. Like that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to get at, and it's English. I'm trying to be creative here."
Right.
And he's like, "No, that's incorrect." I'm like, "Okay," but I don't know, things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I maybe it's just me. I get bothered when people try to correct me like that,
Yeah.
especially if they're a customer and somebody working or vice versa. Like if just because I'm a customer doesn't mean I have the why would I want to carry myself around that? Because
Yeah.
anybody can lie and say I'm an English teacher, but are you the best English teacher? I don't think so. And and I hate to say this, I'm gonna throw this out there. Anybody that's listening, New Mexico is ranked one of the worst states in the nation, pretty much top three in education. So there you go. There you have it.
No comment.
No comment, but I mean it's a struggle out here, man. I mean
It
I
is.
grew up
Yeah.
because I grew up because yeah, because let's be real, like you and I and everybody's always learning more English and learning these new words and words that are added to the dictionary. But let's
Yeah.
be real, um, it was a struggle for me to learn English and Spanish at the same time without anybody teaching me correctly, quote unquote, because I learned native Spanish in home, and so I didn't get to learn this whole vocabulary of Spanish words that I would have learned if I was taking Spanish classes, right? Um, and then English, I mean, you got what you received from wherever you went to get your education.
Right.
So yeah, it was a struggle for me, man, and not today anymore. Today it's easy, and if I really, now that we're older, it's easier to just really research on how to pronounce something better or fix a sentence.
Yeah.
That's just my take though with people like in English.
Yeah. No, I know. It's I don't know. I've struggled with it in the past, but growing up now, I've learned many different things and many different words and how to put my sentence out correctly when I'm shooting an email or just talking to someone. I've fixed that problem myself, even though it is hard sometimes to learn it here. But I've accomplished better with my language or with my English.
Sure. Yeah, I mean it's and what about Spanish? Like you say
Well,
quiet about Spanish. I know we're
Spanish,
talking about English, but I mean while we're at it, you and I
yeah,
both know you know.
Spanish is not my strong suit. English is my first language. Spanish is my second. Um, but Spanish, I could try to keep a conversation going, and I know I can't. I actually speak ways better Spanish with my mom than I do with anybody else. Um, Even if it's at work, I trip over a lot of words in Spanish. I can't get the right sentence out, or like I can't put it in a correct way to say it. And for me, Spanish is it should be my fluent better language than English, but um, like I said, I speak way better Spanish with my brother and my mom.
Yeah, I mean it's I mean at the end of the day, like what is it all worth, right? Like why do we want to be so advanced and learning all the little things in our languages when like in all reality we don't use them, you know.
I mean, it's so good to know though. Like
It's
if
still
I
good to know.
if I had kids one day, I would want them to know both English and Spanish because English and
Well
Spanish
yeah,
would be all over.
but do you want them to learn everything? That's the thing. It's easy to learn the basics of languages, but I'm saying like advanced. You want them to be advanced in English and Spanish? Well, that's gonna take a lot of work, you know?
Yeah, but it's definitely worth it because I would want them to know that.
Yeah. Are you gonna teach him?
I'll have school do that for them.
Oh, well, remember when
But
I mentioned that New Mexico's the worst in the nation? Okay.
I, I mean, I
You're lazy. You're
no,
like you don't want to teach your own children anything. You're
no,
just like,
I
I'm
would, I
gonna give it
definitely.
away to the public school or the private school, whatever you
Well,
do.
I don't know where I learned English from though. Like I know I speak it, but I'm assuming it from school and maybe from the stuff I watch on TV, but I don't remember where I learned it from. In Spanish, my mom taught me Spanish growing up. That I do remember. And I did had to take Spanish classes as well, which I was horrible at. But I had to take it, and I keep like even though I'm bad at it, like when I took Spanish class, I said to myself, why do I need Spanish? I already speak Spanish, but I obviously needed Spanish because I did not speak it right.
You're no, I heard what you said, but you're kind of clicking a lot. I don't know what that
Oh,
noise is.
yeah.
I don't know what that noise is, but I meant to tell you earlier, but it's like I didn't want to stop us, but you've been clicking pretty much like throughout the whole podcast.
Oh, really?
So yeah, we'll see how it sounds though, but it's all good.
Yeah, we'll cut it a little bit.
Yeah, so um well, I mean, I don't know. The only reason why I really enjoy learning a lot more English words is because when I write music, like I want to be more expansive with my vocabulary. I don't want to be too basic. But other than that, I really don't care. But in a sense, I do when it comes to sending professional emails or emails to my coworkers because it's a representation of me. And I don't know, let's just face it, man. Like it could be a typo, it could be done on purpose, but and I care for enough for my image to make sure I send something that's coherent and like capturing and that makes sense um because let's face it, like technology, writing and it's attached to us. Like it's a part of you. It's not all who you are. But many people they're way too relaxed in the way they text or write. And I'm like, dude, it just says a lot about you. Like for one, it says that you don't care about your mistakes. Two, um, it seems like you're not curious enough to like learn how to do this, right? And the number one thing that I don't like to hear from people when it comes to language or using it is that, oh, well, I didn't learn it that way. Oh, well, I am who I am and this is who you're going to get. And I'm like, really? You're going to stay stuck? Like, so, I don't know. There's something about poets and authors that write books that I'm just like, I respect a lot. I'm like, because man, like, this is a writer. Like, this is a writer. This is what I call writing. Like, so I have a lot of respect for that art, because not everybody can do it. Like, and I have a lot of respect for people who express English in a way where it makes me excited to read what's next. It makes me excited to the point where like I can't look anywhere else and I have to keep reading. Like I don't know if you've been to that point, reading other people's stuff.
Yeah, no, I have read appeal stuff, and also going back to what you said, like people using like they're texting and everything, and they're writing shorter words to get the point across. Like I text my friends sometimes at work or after work, and there's always this FR, and I was like, what does FR mean? And he says for real. I was like, I like you could spell out the whole thing. You don't have to make it into a short acronym, you know? Like they don't they don't bother to write the whole thing. Like they have their own
Right.
code of English. Now, like see that's a huge like that's a new type of English that we're speaking is small letters, you know? and codes.
Right, right. That's funny. Yeah, I mean that's the exception for me, like text messaging, like making it a little bit faster to get the point across, but at the same time it's like there's no excuse. Our phones, they auto correct to like the word that you want to use and you can just tap on the
Oh yeah,
word. So that's why I'm like, I don't get this. Sometimes it's just like an aesthetic, like a style that people just want to show, but it's whatever. Um I think what interests me more with people is because I'm used to that. We've been used to that our whole lives, like that type of style of texting and messaging. But I get more interested with the ones with the people that send me like proper grammar because I'm like, but it's funny because then in real life, it is real life, but when I see them in real life, they totally talk like if they are text messaging you in person, using all these little abbreviations and words that are funny but then through text they'll be serious and they'll be more proper. So
right. Yeah. Um, I don't think I had to deal with shortened text messages or like shortened words in the past before. I think, well, like my friend at work, he's a little bit younger, so I'm assuming like the younger you are right now, it's what you use to text people, like those shorter words and letters. But back then we had to spell out every single word because we didn't have smartphones. We had those clicky buttons, so we literally had to spell out each single letter of that word just to get just to talk to someone.
well, there was smartphones technically. Remember the Blackberries? I was just saying they're like the first
Yeah,
ones to introduce, like, I think I might be wrong, but internet surfing.
I
um
think it was a BlackBerry, or maybe
Anyways.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but at least we're up. I can keep up. Like these youngsters, I'm not that old. These youngsters, they think
Yeah.
that I don't know. I'm like, dude, I do know because I'm on the internet. Like, I
Oh
have
yeah.
to be. I have to stay up to date with what words you guys are inventing, and then they get added to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and I'm like,
Uh,
what the hell? What kind of world are we living in now? Like, LOL being added to the dictionary, like that's
it-
just that that bothered me.
re- remember YOLO?
Oh yeah, YOLO was also added to the dictionary. And I'm like, dude, like I'm like over here in other countries are laughing at us and being like, why would they add this? Like they're not
Right.
modest anymore. Like we're just I don't know. We're not modest anymore.
Yeah. No, no.
I mean, I'm not romanticizing like old English or anything, but I mean, there's something about it that to where I don't know. Imagine us speaking Old English. Actually, that'd be hilarious. We poke fun at it at all times, like Shakespeare.
That's
Apparently,
hard to read.
but apparently Shakespeare invented like the words, like or that those phrases. Like, for example, apparently one of them was "break the ice,"
Break
and
the ice.
apparently Shakespeare invented that. And I said, "What?" And it means to like break the ice,
Yeah.
like break the ice as in like let's break it in,
Yeah.
let's get it
It gets to the
going,
point. Yeah.
get familiar to it. No, let's get to the point.
No.
Breaking
No.
the ice is like doing a break the ice activity to get people opening up.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, so yeah, like things like that, I'm like that's cool, but I don't know. I'm not too fascinated with linguistics in general, but I mean at the same time I'm like I do wonder where some of the words come from that we use.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I tried. I remember in high school, or where yeah, I remember in high school. we had to read Shakespeare just I think for one session or one lesson, and reading that was super hard because it's English, but it's not modern English. So I couldn't read it at all myself because it was so complicated to speak that type of English, and there was books to translate what that English was to our modern English.
Right, right, yeah. Yeah, I tried in high school, but then it's just I saw somehow I got away with it with like the teacher giving assignments about the books, like some of the plays, and I don't know, but they're more interesting to me now more than ever as I'm older. Not not when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I just wanted to get out of class and
Mess around, yeah.
mess around, play games and play sports and then eat and go to sleep. Like just be a rotten, spoiled teenager. That's what I wanted to do or to be.
I think we both were.
No, I don't know. My lifestyle was a little bit different from yours. Maybe I don't know. I honestly didn't know what you were doing at more than half of the time because you were so random. You would pop up and aside from like yeah being in classes and you had other classes than me, I was like okay. But then when we ever had breaks or then we got off after school, I don't know what would happen to you.
I just go straight home. Like I didn't really do. I
Straight.
know I
But
really
what
didn't
would you
do much
do? What would
after.
you do as soon as you got home, though?
The only thing I was excited for was to play GTA 5
GTA 5?
and
Oh
watch
my
YouTube
god.
and watch Netflix. But
That's how
yeah,
you would
uh,
play? Like just that one game?
yeah, yeah, and go online. Just play the sessions and play with people.
The GTA Online?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I've always wanted to learn how to do that, but never got to.
See, if you took the time to go after school and play it, and not mess around after school, you would have known.
What do you mean? That is, anyways. Yeah, no.
You have to learn a new
What my
skill.
routine, what my routine was is aside from not doing my homework right away, I'd get back home, I would eat something. My mom would usually prepare something and be like, "Are you guys gonna eat or not?" I'm like, "I'm coming, mom. I'm coming because I want." Because like I was into the PlayStation 3 at the time,
Mm.
and then that's when like the PlayStation 4 was just gonna come out, but I was playing games like Call of Duty and sports games. I don't know why I was so into sports games. And then aside from that, I played tennis. Remember after school, and then I would go home too. But anyways, it's yeah. I mean, to be honest, I didn't dedicate my time to studying at all. It wasn't until college I really took education serious, and I started to learn a lot more, like dramatically. Like as soon as I started going to college, I had to take a remedial English class, and then I had to take the two regular English classes, and then basically my whole college career was English because I had to write papers. I studied a degree where it required a lot of communicating, right? And it still does. I don't know if I'll be a counselor again until I'm older, because right now I'm in a new direction. But the thing is it wasn't interesting to me until I really wanted to do it for myself. Because early on, when you're in school, especially when you have struggles in the family and a lot of things going on, like the last thing on your mind is wanting to learn how to improve your English.
Oh yeah, definitely. You have more things important to think about than English for sure.
No, but
I'll try to come up from being the fifth to the second in tennis.
what? What'd you
Sorry,
say?
no.
No, go ahead and bring it up.
Wait, what?
The last thing you said.
Like there was more important things than learning English from being the fifth. number fifth player to the second player.
Is that what happened? Holy crap! I don't know. I don't. I just. Oh yeah, I remember. That was good for you. That was good for you in our high school tennis team that one year.
Yeah.
That was good for you because it got you know a player that's in the fifth place compared to somebody that's in second. There's a huge difference. Not gonna
Oh yeah.
lie,
Yeah. Definitely.
but but anyways, it's I mean, now I do get bothered with. So I talk to other professionals, right? They have all this college. They may have gone to like a prestigious college, and they write to me in an email form, and the way they reply to me, it disgusts me sometimes, like that, because I'm like, what? Like, why is it fair that you're grilling me for my uh, the way I use English, right? The usage of words and how I put them together, like these sentences. Why do I get grilled when, like, look at the way you're talking to me? And especially as like employers, they expect you to be professional, and they see that you have, and I'm like, okay, but you're not writing right to me either. But so do I even want to work for you? Like, it's coming to that point. I don't know, for me.
Right.
Because but I wish I wasn't as judgmental. Because what if I didn't have that education? What if I didn't have the privilege to go do all that and learn more and hold myself up to a higher standard for myself? Like, what if I was just a regular, just average Joe that didn't go to school? And not to say that those folks are the average Joe. I'm just saying it's the average Joe of not going to school. Like, and we're average, and it's not that we're trying to peak our language use here, but what if I wasn't as judgmental? Then it wouldn't bother me that other professionals are messing up on their grammar and the way they present themselves.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, you can't be too judgmental, and plus, like, you wouldn't be able to say those things back to them if you didn't have your knowledge of English or knowledge of, you know, like you can't say something. You can't. What am I trying to say? You can't say things back to them if you don't have the same almost skill as they do. You know?
Well, no, that's the point though. No, but the point is that I'm trying to make is that who cares if somebody has a doctorate degree in English and I have a master's degree in counseling. I mean, my education is just as up there as they are. Just because they have a little bit more education than me, it doesn't mean they have the same level of English. Does that make sense?
Right? Yeah. No, it does.
Because you can be a fanatic and study English, but you're terrible at using it. But you're good at knowing about it. You're good at teaching it, but you're not good at using it. I don't
Exactly.
know. At the end of the day, like, what is it for? The only thing that I would care for people in the future is to be able to have the opportunity to learn English and to learn other languages to the point where we are able to use them comfortably with other people around the world. And because that's what should matter. That I think it doesn't need to be that complicated for us to be able to just get together, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful when there's a lot of diversity, right, on our planet. But I mean, I'm happy with just whether people think I'm fluent or not, or whether if I think I'm fluent or not, who cares? As long as I know that I'm understanding you, like that's fair enough for me.
Yeah. And you could keep your conversation going, then yeah, that's totally fine.
Well, yeah, and it's important, and it really is. Like, I'll give you one example. Like when I went to Oaxaca, and this is accordance to Spanish. Um, I've been around folks that in Oaxaca that thought that I didn't know Spanish because I guess I look foreign to them. And but I was overhearing them what they were saying, and they wanted to steal like my friend's backpack.
Really?
And so yeah, yeah, so of course my other buddy and I, aside from the friend that doesn't know Spanish at all, like we defended him by saying, we know what you're saying, like, you know. And then it just like ran away. I don't know. It was But yeah, it's important. Like
Huh.
people can be very ignorant, but I think many people today are starting to learn many languages, at once rather than just one at a time.
Yeah, because there's some. I mean, everywhere you go, there's so many different languages. There's Japanese, German, or Korean going out there. Like it's good to know some of it just to understand people, or like you said, like in case of someone trying to rob something from you, you understand what they're saying. You know, but someone that doesn't know.
Right. Yeah. So, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this topic, but it's been interesting.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting topic because it's it gives you a little bit of story, a background story of English and where it came from, and many different words that mean almost the same thing, and that I mean, learning a new language is always a good thing to keep your vocabulary up to date or to keep your brain going and learning new things. And it's always fun to learn where English, French, Spanish also came from as well, because English is a you could learn from it from past history, and where also French came from as well, because we have no idea where French came from. But learning that as well is a good thing to know, and things I didn't know right till talking to you or listening to you what you said before. It's good to know about all these different languages.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's kind of, I mean at the same time, like our last topic we talked about AI, like it's pretty cool that now we have apps where it can auto translate like what another person is saying in English so we can understand, and then we send the message back in English, but then they'll translate into whatever language they are currently using in the
Yeah,
app.
yeah. If you use like I think it was Apple Translate or Google Translate, you could put it with a live microphone, and you could talk back and forth, and it'll automatically translate that English text to German, and then I'll go back to German to Spanish or English. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not perfect, it's not perfect because sometimes we use words and we want to use it in a different context, and Google isn't ready for that. Like it would have to learn all the different contexts that we may want to use it in,
Yeah,
and then it's going to be annoying because then I'll be like, Siri, like, did you mean this? Did you mean that? Did you mean this? I'm like, no, 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 no.
I've had
But some,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I had a customer come in one time, and he had to use his phone. I think he was, I have no idea, Korean or French or one of those two. But
Korean
he,
or French? I mean, I don't want to make assumptions about race,
well,
but
okay, well,
like you would have to know, like it's unless if they're mixed. Like I'm like, wow,
no, I had no idea what language he was speaking, but he had to use his phone to um to talk to me, because he knew English but not as well to talk a full conversation.
right, right. None. How'd it go?
It went pretty good because and like you said before, AI doesn't really understand sometimes of the words, so he had to repress the button or re-speak into the phone to talk to me, and then he had to press his mic to for me to talk to him. So, but AI doesn't know the meaning of what we're trying to get across, like it'll put the word out there, but it won't understand the point. to what
Yeah,
we're
like the
saying.
context. The
Yeah,
context.
the context of the
Like,
conversation.
yeah. So, I mean, one thing I can say is that if a person comes into the store and they're probably not going to joke with you because they're trying to be serious. So there's that. But that takes intelligence from the other person on the other side to know that, okay, well they're saying this, but they're not. I'm pretty sure they didn't mean to say that, and so that takes skill too. But
Exactly. Yeah.
um, yeah. So, well, I don't know if you got anything else to add, Hobby, to this topic.
I don't know. It was a very interesting topic to talk about because I had no idea. I had no idea about all this until now. I think I learned more things now than I did in high school.
Yeah, I could say the same with me doing a little bit of research from those places online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously we're not professionals, but like we we looked it up and everything, or we kind of brought ourselves up to speed of the history of all this.
Well, if people are interested, I can add the link to, I can give it to you so you can post it
Yeah,
so that
I
way they
put
can see what I read from.
yeah I put all the links that we find down below on our YouTube channel, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, because, yeah, that's not, yeah. So, anyways, well, thank you for having me on here. I think we've agreed on the next topic.
I think our next topic will be more in depth of this because I really want to talk about this because it's happening all over the world right now and it's annoying the heck out of people. I think the topic is tipping getting out of hand.
Right, yeah, so yeah, that's right. That's what we're gonna go into, but I mean, there's more to it aside from like using language, how that ties into it, but also it I don't even know how tipping works in other countries. Like, it'd be interesting to talk about that and just in the US and like what it means and what maybe we can find some outrageous stories about tipping and you know so yeah, that's I can't wait for that.
Yeah, me neither. I think it's gonna be a very good conversation, and a lot of people are gonna chime in to that as well because a lot of people work in that industry. A lot of people are employees, customers in both situations. So I would really love to hear what people would have to say. And if anyone is watching or listening, if you want to give us a comment down below of what your opinion is on tipping and how crazy it is right now, just leave it down below and we'll definitely check it out.
Well, I mean, you have to describe for them like what do you mean by crazy? Like because that's a broad
Well, I mean,
subjective thing.
it's
Like what
it's a it's a general subject, I think.
But yeah, but how can people know it's crazy? Like you gotta explain like a little bit, give them a little bit to what to comment on. Because what if people don't think it's crazy at all and it's just you?
Well, what I experienced here recently, I went to this restaurant in Albuquerque, and I wanted to pay, but I couldn't. It's not that I didn't want to leave a tip; is that now the option to leave a tip, I cannot skip without adding a tip. You know?
That's not true. That's illegal.
No, I'm serious. Like this,
You can put
I
no tip
shouldn't.
if you don't want it to.
No, it didn't. It didn't give me that. It didn't give me that option. Sorry, I'm moving the mic around, but it didn't give me that
Are you
option.
serious? That's a
Yeah,
different machine.
because it's like those receipts that have that QR code now, you like
Mhm.
scan and pay, right? It didn't let me jump to the next option. It only gave me 15, 20, or 25%. So I had to press one of those to continue on. That's the thing that bothers
Where
me the
was this
most.
at? Where was this at?
Well, I don't want to say where it's at. I don't want to give them bad press about it.
You're not gonna get a bad press about it. I mean, it's not like we have millions of people listening to us.
But I mean, I just don't want to
Well, okay. Well,
put
like,
them.
what type of business was it then?
It's just a restaurant, normal restaurant.
Okay, no, that's.
Try it. No, I mean, like go to a
Well, I
restaurant.
would have. I don't know. I've never been to a restaurant where I can't like where I can't choose to not tip. Aside from, here's the thing. Aside from being with a party with over 5 family members, they have to include a tip. I think it's either five
Yeah,
or six members. And did I say family? It's whoever, like 6 members
yeah,
at least at the table, where they have to include the tip because they don't want to. It'll be sad if one person did all that work and for 7 people and they don't leave any tip at all.
exactly. Yeah, no,
That happens
that
all the time.
yeah, that definitely makes sense. If it's more than 5 or 6, then they should definitely add that included.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll get into it then. But, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you guys from so much for listening, for tuning in, for watching us and listening over. You could always subscribe to us on all of our platforms on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well. We'll leave all the links down below for you to follow us and all the articles that we did find on this topic.
yeah, please ask any questions or leave comments. And yeah,
Yeah,
thank you guys so much for having me on here. Thank you, Javi.
yeah, no problem. All right. Well, I'll see you guys in the next episode.